we all play in a lot of various situations and different styles, and so they're extremely flexible, and they're willing to kind of go wherever the music leads. And so a lot of the tunes are, I mean, some are wide open, so they're all very adventurous, and I really like that. And so um, it's not possible to get the full scope of a musician, within one record, but I've never really been able to stick to one thing. So I think some of that is reflected in this album.
Hey everybody, Mike Jeffers, Chicago Jazz Magazine, ChicagoJazz.com, and welcome to another episode of Around Town. Of course, we are doing special Jazz Fest previews right now, but this musician here has a couple of gigs coming up and a new release coming up all at once. So we're kind of putting it all together in our Jazz Fest preview interviews right now. Christian Dillingham is joining me. He has got a new recording out September 1st called Cascades. Of course, it's on Dave Douglas's Greenleaf Music label. We're going to talk all about that. He's also got a gig coming up. He's playing at the Chicago Jazz Fest September 3rd, 1:50 to 2:45 p.m. on the Von Freeman Pavilion. And then he has a release weekend over at the Green Mill. Of course, all roads lead to Uptown, September 22nd and 23rd at the Mill. Christian, you got a lot going on here in September. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about this new release first, because reading about the background of it and kind of the inner meaning of putting it together. Obviously, you play in a lot of different styles, and I'm going to have you back on and we'll talk about your career at some point. But you also came up from Ohio, I believe, and then you came to Chicago, and you actually came to Chicago to play classical music specifically, because I think you had a gig with the Lyric. Is that right?
I originally came here to play in the civic orchestra.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you came up, and then jazz obviously has always been a part of your playing as well. And I know you play gospel. I know you play art. I mean, everybody plays everything these days because I think you're influenced by everything. But Cascades is your first solo release, right? As a leader.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about the background of it, how you conceived it, and kind of the meaning of the entire recording.
Well, it's something I had been meaning to do for years, and being a sideman, as you know, you get involved in a lot of projects, and sometimes your own things keep getting pushed back. And so the only way for me to make things happen is to set a date and then be held down to it. So that's what I did, and I wasn't in any rush to really do it either. So that's also why it's taken me this long to get something out. But a lot of the tunes have one of the tunes I wrote in college. So some of them are old to me, and then others I wrote just leading up to the recording. So happy to finally have it out in the world. We recorded that stuff November of 2021.
Oh, wow.
So on top of just sitting with the tunes for a long time, it's taken, the whole process of getting it out is another, uh, another hurdle. But yeah, the tunes for a long time, I wasn't really sure which direction I wanted to go. And the more I sat with them, the more the musicians that play on it, I really heard their voices on those tunes. And so Leonard Simpson is on alto and soprano saxophone, and Dave Miller plays guitar, and Greg Artry is on drums. And they all have such distinct voices and characters on their instruments, and yeah, I really started to hear each of them, and I knew they would just really bring everything to life, and that's what they did.
Well, listening through it, and I haven't done a deep dive, but I've listened through it, and true to form, this recording has a lot of different styles I'm hearing on it, and each person that you just mentioned, of course, I'm sure many of the people that are watching this that are in Chicago are familiar with all those names because they play in so many different groups, and they've also led some of their own groups and everything else. But you guys all have a like mind, right, in order to play this kind of stuff because I'm hearing jazz, I'm hearing some funk stuff, I'm hearing some R&B things here and there, and then I heard some kind of avant-garde slash different things and harmonies and stuff on one of the tracks. So I mean, but you guys also you have to have like a like mind to be able to get inside the music and make it push forward and continue to grow creatively, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We all play in a lot of various situations and different styles, and so they're extremely flexible, and they're willing to kind of go wherever the music leads. And so a lot of the tunes are, I mean, some are wide open. So they're all very adventurous, and I really like that. And so um, it's not possible to get the full scope of a musician, within one record, but I've never really been able to stick to one thing. So I think some of that is reflected in this album. Um, I didn't really set out to do it that way. It just that's how the tunes kind of came together.
Well, I think that, and I say this all the time on this show, especially um, in our era of jazz and coming up in you didn't come up in the 80s, but coming up in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, you're influenced by so many styles of music now. It's hard to say, okay, well, I'm just a straight ahead bebop player and that's what I'm going to do. I mean, even if you wanted to do that, you're still listening to other things are coming into your subconscious and sucking it in. And I know somebody like you, probably very similar to myself, I love listening to all different styles of music, and I can appreciate all different styles of music, even if it's not exactly what I want to listen to in my car when I'm driving around. I can appreciate how it's being put together and the work behind it. So don't you think that's sort of the natural way of creating your own voice is by all these different influences and then it's coming through? And since this is your first recording writing it, I mean, I hear all those different styles and all those different influences through your whole back playing days and learning how to play and coming up and all the different musicians you've played with over the years. It all kind of comes out then when you start writing your own pieces, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's just how we are as people. We all have we draw from different life experiences, and that's how we all are shaped into who we are. So I think it would be a sin to not have that be present in music or art. And so I think it comes through, and yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a personal record too, because it took me this long to, I think if I would have, had something out 20 years ago, it would be, it would be a very different, it would be a very different record. So yeah, I think that, hopefully that, all these different life experiences and musical experiences are reflecting in the tunes.
So let's talk a little bit about the first gig of the three gigs that you have coming up in September. I'm sure you have other ones with other people, but we're focusing on just you because you're super busy, and you also teach at IU. So not to think that Christian's just sitting around in between gigs doing nothing. He's like working 7 days a week here. So September 3rd, Von Freeman Pavilion at the Chicago Jazz Festival. And for those of you that don't know, the Von Freeman Pavilion is just north of the Bean. So I always tell people so they know which direction to head at 150 to 245. Who's on the gig? Is it the same group that was on the recording?
Yeah, it's the same band, and that will be the same band for the Green Mill also.
So you guys are playing the fest. Now I know you've played the fest with other groups over the years. Have you ever led your own group at the
No,
fest before?
this is the first time, so extra exciting.
it kind of works out too with the new release coming out. So you're going to have that available at the Jazz Fest. Of course, I've got
I
the
will.
entire thing up on chicagojazz.com as far as the whole schedule, so you can check all that out. But then you have a release show at the Green Mill, September 22nd and 23rd. Now the Mill doing a release show at the Mill, that's great. And then you have a weekend at the Mill, which is pretty tough to get. So I mean, Dave Gemolo, the great entrepreneur of jazz here in Chicago, so happy that he's got you on that weekend gig. What's that feel like, and what can people expect to hear that weekend, because it's a longer gig, so you're going to be playing a lot of different tunes.
Yeah, well, the first of all, I'm very thankful to Dave for having us there. You know, that's one of my favorite clubs in the entire world. So it's very special to do it there. But we're going to be playing the whole record. We're going to, we tend to stretch. It's very easy to, five tunes could be, two sets worth. So the plan is to get through everything, and I'll try and make sure that happens. But yeah, we're that's what we'll be playing. So just playing everything on the record, and maybe with a couple things added in. But like I said, we tend to run out of time, not have time left over. So
All right, so let's send everybody over to your website, christiandillingham.com. Of course, we're going to link that up down below. And one more time, September 3rd, Von Freeman Pavilion, 1:50 p.m. to 2:45 p.m. Folks, it's free. The Chicago Jazz Fest is free. I know that's your favorite word, free. So that's happening. And then, of course, the Green Mill, greenmilljazz.com, up there in Uptown, Lawrence, and Broadway. And that's September 22nd and 23rd. Christian, man, thanks for jumping on. Congratulations on the new recording. And I think there's a review in the works. I'm not sure if it's going to come out before Jazz Fest. I'm hoping it'll come out before the Green Mill. So all that'll be on Chicago Jazz as well.
thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and I love what you're doing.
No, man, I appreciate it. And get some rest in September, because you're going to need it. You're going to be working hard here, but we're all looking forward to seeing you all over Chicago. And of course, thanks to everybody for watching. As I always say, all the information is at chicagojazz.com. And until next time, hopefully I will see somebody out on the scene.